It's time for Rust 1.71.0, which was released on July 13th, 2023, thanks to the hard work of 345 contributors. By the way, GitHub's merge queue feature is now generally available, so hopefully someday the Rust project can start using it and the Borsbot can stop being the top contributor every month. So what's new in Rust 1.71.0? First up, the C-unwind ABI has been stabilized. Technically, so have the other ABI variants that end with -unwind, but the C-unwind ABI is the one everyone talks about. With the existing C ABI variant, no matter what your panic runtime is set to, if you encounter a foreign unwind that reaches the boundary between C and Rust, the behavior is undefined. And if there's one thing Rust tries to eliminate, it's undefined behavior. That's why the C-unwind ABI variant was introduced. Its behavior is defined to follow the behavior of the panic runtime, bringing yet more sanity to dealing with C and other ABIs. The C ABI variant will probably adopt this behavior in a future release someday, but you can start using it with the C-unwind variant today. Number 2, there are 2 new debugger visualization attributes. These 2 attributes allow embedding NatViz descriptions and GDB scripts into Rust libraries to improve debugger output when inspecting data structures created by those libraries. NatViz is the XML format used by Visual Studio, and GDB is the GNU project debugger. It's kind of weird that such an acronym-centric organization didn't use GPD for GNU project debugger. Oh well, everyone just calls it GDB anyway and ignores what the acronym means, which is probably the best policy considering GNU itself is a silly attempt at acronym recursion. The impact of this feature is that you now have more ways to make some arbitrary data types, like this person struct, display how you want it to when you view it in a debugger. Number 3, up until now, linking your Rust project with a dynamic library DLL file on Windows required having an import library in the form of a .lib static library available at build time, which usually meant you had to ship that import library with your project in order for others to build on Windows and link to that DLL you want to call into. Now, using the raw-dylib option with the link attribute, you no longer need that import library. Additionally, there is a new link ordinal attribute which you can combine with the raw-dylib feature to link against DLLs that export symbols by ordinal rather than by name. The import name type key was also added for use with the raw-dylib feature, and the DLL tool compiler flag was also stabilized. So lots of library linking improvements for Windows users. Number 4, for Linux users who want to use the Rust toolchains with musl, the version of musl used by Rust toolchains for the various musl targets now use musl 1.2.3. Since most folks don't use the musl Rust toolchains, it's usually a conscious choice, this doesn't affect most of you. But for you who do, you get a newer version of musl with some bug fixes. Number 5, on Apple operating systems, macOS, iOS, tvOS, watchOS, etc., rustc's --print flag now accepts a deployment target option, which will print out the target version of the respective operating system. This is important because those target versions haven't changed for a long time, so some folks have been hard coding them. Public service announcement. They're going to change. Time to start grabbing the value from rustc instead. Number 6. 4 clippy lints were uplifted, or moved, into Rust itself. Specifically, these 4. The first 2 deal with when you attempt to drop or forget a reference to something. You probably want to drop or forget the something that is actually referenced, but this just drops or forgets the reference itself. Similarly, the other 2 lints deal with when you try to drop or forget a copy type. Since the type implements copy, a copy of the value is passed to the functions and the original is left alone. That's probably not what you meant to do. Number 7, did you know that you could use const with a block to initialize thread locals? It looks like this. This is not a new feature. In fact, it was introduced in Rust 1.59 back in February of 2022. But there was no mention of it in the documentation or even in the release notes, which made it pretty hard to discover. Now it's documented, so go check it out. Number 8, nested string formatting that involves only string literals is now flattened to a final string literal at compile time rather than performing the formatting at runtime. For example, If, for some reason, you decided to use string formatting to compose a hello world message in your program, the Rust compiler won't change your code, but it will pretend you made a more sensible choice in the first place and compile in the final string literal for you. If you are the kind of person who puts this kind of silly stuff in a hot loop, you may see big speedups. Number 9. Remember last release how we talked about the new named debug levels that you could pass on the command line? Well, now you can use the named levels in your Cargo.toml file, which is much more convenient. Number 10. If you run cargo new or cargo init inside of a workspace, the Cargo.toml file that gets generated is configured to inherit all existing workspace fields by default. So, for example, if you create a workspace field for your version number, any crate you create in the workspace will automatically be configured to inherit that version number by default. Nice. Number 11. The Cargo team added a nice team charter document to the Cargo repository. The Rust development organization is a volunteer organization, and the Cargo team is no exception. If you're interested in joining the Cargo team, I encourage you to go read the team charter linked in the description below. It has all the details about what the team does and how to join. Number 12, stabilized APIs. Once again, we have a whole bunch of them. Let's break it down. CStir is a method that returns true if a CStir contains only a null byte. Build hasher hash1 is a convenience method that hashes a single value intended to make writing tests easier. The signed non-zero types methods isPositive and isNegative are convenience methods that return a boolean depending on whether the non-zero number is positive or negative, respectively. The _neg suffixed methods for the signed non-zero types all multiply the non-zero number by -1, but deal with the minimum negative number differently. Checked neg returns an option set to none, overflowing neg overflows, saturating neg saturates, and wrapping neg wraps around. Implementing the neg or negative trait for the signed non-zero types allows you to use the minus operator in front of the value to negate it. If the value is the minimum integer value, this operator panics, which is why you have the previous 4 methods to choose from if you want to guarantee that negating your non-zero number won't panic. This trait is also implemented for references to non-zero numbers, continuing the practice of trying to make math for references just work. The from trait is implemented to convert from an array to a tuple of arity from 1 to 12 and vice versa. Of course, since there is a blanket into implementation for all from implementations, that means that the into trait is also implemented for the same pairs of values. So you can convert arrays to or from tuples pretty easily now, but only if the tuples items are all of one type, of course. And finally, on Windows, there is now a blanket implementation of the asHandle and asSocket traits, which let you borrow the underlying handle or socket respectively for any boxed or reference counted types that already implement the asHandle trait. Number 13. Several APIs are now available to use in const expressions, meaning they will be evaluated at compile time. Here's the full list. The first 6 all deal with reading through raw pointers, and the last one is a method that splits one slice into 2 slices. Easy peasy. Number 14. The Markdown parser for documentation comments now allow you to use single tildes around text to indicate strikethrough. Until now, you had to use double tildes. There are 7 new clippy lints. Let's go over them. Lint 1. Manual next back checks to see if you reverse your iterator and then call next. Don't do that. Just call next back instead. Lint 2. Ref patterns checks to see if you use the ref keyword in a pattern. Many people find this approach confusing, so just make a reference to your value and match against that instead. Lint 3. Default constructed unit structs checks to see if you are calling the default method to construct a unit struct or a type that is equivalent to a unit struct. There's no need to do that since all unit structs are 0-byte values and can be constructed directly without incurring the overhead of a meaningless function call. Lint 4. Manual while let sum looks for when you use a while loop to check if a vector is empty and then pop an element inside the loop. Instead, use a while let expression with pattern matching to do the same thing more idiomatically. Lint 5. Needless bool assign looks for when you use an if expression to assign the value of the condition to a variable. You don't need an if expression to do that. Just assign the condition to the variable directly. Lint 6, items after test module looks to see if you have code below your unit test module. This is bad because people expect the unit test module to be at the bottom of the file and often won't notice any code placed below it. Just move your code back above your unit test module. Last, and probably least, Lint 7, non-minimal config, checks to see if you have an any or all combinator inside of a config attribute and tells you to remove it because it's not actually doing anything if it only contains a single item. That's all I've got today, but I've got a video coming out really soon to go over what to expect from RustConf 2023 in September. I will announce some live courses that I'm teaching at RustConf and some other fun stuff, so stay tuned for that. Like and subscribe if you want more videos like this.